Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about one of my favorite types of pens, and that's pocket pens. I have quite a number in my collection. This actually isn't all of them because I decided that we were just going to look at steel nibbed pocket pens. And so I did end up pulling one style from Mom's collection because I don't have it yet in mine. But other than that, these all exist in my collection, and we're going to take a look at all of them and talk about some of the similarities and some of the differences, and hopefully this helps you decide what pocket pen might be right for you. So right off the top, these pens are a mix of pens I received as PR and pens I purchased myself, but at this point, any PR content I had to do with the pens for specific campaigns is over, and so I just get to do whatever I want with them. So to start with, we have a Kaweco Plastic Sport. I collect these like they're jelly beans and have a bunch of them in my collection, and I really like this pen. This is a double broad. And it is also a number 5 nib, so it's the smaller nib. Most of these pens are actually going to be a number 5 nib. That's what I tend to use in pocket pens. And even though I do have gold nib pocket pens, for this I've purely pulled steel nib pocket pens. So then we have a Monteverde MVP in diamond. This is an eyedropper pen, and I will say this is not the nib that's normally in this pen. For this, I have put stock nibs back in everything, even if stuff normally has specialty grinds or non-stock stuff in it. So the ink is not quite right for this pen and this nib combo. It's a bit light with this nib, but it's going to be good enough. This is a fine. From Monteverde. I really like the eyedropperness of this pen. I wanted it in clear, and I really like it. Next up, we have a Benu Pixie. Again, great pen. This is the V1, so it doesn't post particularly well. V2 did fix that though, and I believe V2 is now available most places. I'm still waiting to get my hands on one. This is a medium from Benu, and it's definitely a much broader nib than the fine from Monteverde, even though we're still all playing in the same size of nib. And I believe both Monteverde and Benu use Schmidt nibs, if I remember correctly. They both use Schmidts. I think so. Next up, this is actually the pen that I don't own. This is from Mom's collection. I didn't think I was going to like this pen. This is the Kaweco Brass Sport. And for whatever reason, the brass of this pen discolors when ink gets onto it, and you just can't clean it off, seemingly, which I do find a little bit frustrating. That doesn't happen with my brass pen, but it does happen with hers. That being said, I do quite like this pen. So I'm sure at some point one will be added to my collection. This is a medium which just goes to show you how different medium nibs can be from different brands, because these are both technically size 5 medium nibs, and yet the Benu and the Kaweco are very different. And I'm about to show you 2 more medium nibs from Schmidt, so same as Benu, that are again much more similar to the Benu nib. So first up we have an acrylic Colotino. I love this pen. I've had it in my collection for a couple weeks now, and while I don't love it as much as my brass one, I do really like it, and I'm excited to see what colors they come out with next. And I do like the little brass accents you still have. So this is also a medium Schmidt, though you can switch these nibs by pulling the nib and feed, which I have done on one of mine, though I have switched it back to stock for this. So there's the acrylic one. And next up we have what is honestly one of my favorite pens in my entire collection. If I had to pick a top 10, this would definitely be in it, and I think it would actually probably be in my top 5. I have had this pen since February when I was sent one by Sampro, and I adore this pen. You've probably seen it a bunch if you've been around this channel, because it's been inked up pretty much constantly, and it's also my favorite fidget toy during podcast episodes because it's a near silent fidget and it's got a really satisfying weight to it. I also love that it can go from being a quiet fidget toy in meetings to being an uncapped pen very, very quickly. Though normally I wouldn't drop the cap, but it's hard to do that one-handed on camera. So this is the Quick Brown Fox. This is a medium brass. I will say this pen is heavy. If you do not like a heavy pen, this pen is not the pen for you. I did not think I liked a heavy pen, and I was sort of hesitant at first with how heavy this pen is, and I am utterly obsessed with it. It's so nice in the hand now that I've had it for a couple months, and I love how it's patinaed to this very, very matte finish. And I'm sure it's going to continue to patina because I've had it for 7-8 months now, and I think it'll just continue to get this lovely patina. It's so pretty, and it's also patinaed so differently than Mom's Kaweco brass. Like, they just look incredibly different side by side. It's definitely one of my favorite pens in my entire collection, and it's also our last size 5 pen, because after this we move into pens that take a size 6 nib. I have to say though, you can definitely tell how the Benu and the Colos, those nibs are very similar. So you can go for something very sparkly and glittery, you can go for something more subtle and get the same nib writing experience. Kawecos, on the other hand, I find tend to write finer, and pretty much always do. And so I tend to always size up in a Kaweco nib. So if I want, you know, the look of a normal Schmidt medium, I'm going to go for a Kaweco broad. It works for me pretty well because this medium is nowhere near as nice to me personally as these other mediums. Next up though, we have the Esterbrook Niblet. This is in Botanical Garden, and I really like this. My one sort of thing that I don't love about it is how long it takes to unscrew and then rescrew to post it. I wish it took a little less time, but It's a very comfortable pen in hand, and I like how perfectly this is lined up. So let's do our writing sample. So this is a fine. I'm just going to put a star there to denote that that's our size 6. Our next pen is also going to be a size 6, and that is a Shown Design faceted pocket 6. If you've been in the pen world for a while, you've probably seen Ian's work. It's extraordinary, and I was so happy to finally be able to get my hands on one of these. I ended up using some affiliate credit from Atlas to do it. This is the Atlas exclusive colorway, and boy, is it lovely. I do think I'm probably going to get this nib ground into a mini stub. It is just a Yovo 6, which is the same as Esterbrook. It's also a fine nib. I have had my Architect in here. That's a Yovo 6. It clashes a bit too much, though, color-wise, of nib and pen body. So I think if I'm going to continue to do that, I'm going to get the Architect ground onto a silver nib. But we'll see. That may or may not happen. So this is a fine. Pocket 6. I'm going to star that as well. So overall, most of my pocket pens are in this size 5 world. I do have some size 6. I do have some gold nibs. But most pocket pens do tend to be the smaller nib. And I don't mind that, because if you look, most medium size 5s write like a fine size 6. And I tend to use a fine size 6 or a medium size 6, which means I just go a size up. So I'll go with a medium 5 or a broad 5, depending on if I'm looking for a fine or a medium size 6. That's sort of how I work it out in my head. But let's zoom in and look at this writing a bit more closely. I would say the Monteverde and the Kaweco are very, very similar. The double broad is the largest of all of them, but there was no way that any of these were going to compare. And then really, when it comes to pocket pens, the next big differentiation is price. So even though I haven't mentioned how much pens cost in this video, they are lined up in order from least expensive to most expensive in Canadian dollars. So if I was buying these pens in Canada, the least expensive would be a plastic Kaweco Sport, and the most expensive would be a Shown Design Pocket 6. Depending on where you are, certain pens might cost more, certain pens might cost less, certain pens might be impossible to get in your country. And so that is part of the reason I just don't talk about prices these days. But if I had to choose 3 of these pocket pens to be sort of like my standout pens, if I wanted to just like dip my toe into the pocket pen world and try it without spending a whole bunch of money, I would definitely go with a Kaweco Sport in plastic. They come in a whole bunch of colors. You can get them in a whole bunch of nib sizes. You can get them with different clips because the clips come separately. I love how much you can personalize them for a really inexpensive pen. They've done some DIY sports at different events over the past couple of years. And almost everyone I know owns at least one sport. And lots of people like me own many. My next pick would actually be the brass Colotino. I have very few pens that will stay inked up for months and months and months and months and months. And it's rare for me to be completely obsessed with something for as long as I've been obsessed with this pen. And I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. I utterly adore every time I have it inked up. I love the weight in my hand. I love being able to fidget with it. It's frequently in my hand during a podcast episode as just something to play with. And it's a great fidget and it's a great pen. And I love having those things in the studio that can be both. So for me, the Colotino is sort of like the expensive but not the most expensive pocket pen, because there are definitely steel nib pocket pens that cost a lot more, which brings us to the shown design. So this is the Pocket 6 faceted. Ian also has a normal Pocket 6. He makes them in other materials. I would say if you want a pocket pen that is extraordinary, like top tier, handcrafted by some crazy smart people. They do crazy unique things. They make their own nibs in house. Not what I've got on this pen, but they make monarch nibs in house. Ian is who you want to go to. And so if you want something extraordinary in your pocket pen collection, I would go for a Pocket 6 in whatever color, finish, pattern, faceted, non-faceted. I think he's doing some other metal engraved stuff now, but honestly, who knows? I think every time I see him at a show, he's got something new on the table. They are really expensive. And I went back and forth for a long time about adding one to my collection, and I am so glad I did because I utterly adore it. And I am so excited to someday hopefully add a monarch nib to my collection. I don't think it's happening anytime soon, but a girl can hope. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm sure I missed your favorite pocket pen, so let me know down below what pocket pen's your favorite. And also let me know down below if you want to see a part 2 including gold nib pens. I'm sure that I've got a bunch of gold nib pocket pens in the studio, and I'm sure that as soon as I stop filming this, I will find a bunch of pocket pens that could have been included in this video. So let me know if you want to see a part 2 that includes some other pens and some gold nib pens, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching and have a great day.